Hi everyone, my name's Scott. Welcome to Planes, Trains, Everything, and welcome to Penzance. I do like visiting islands, in particular tidal islands. What is a tidal island? Well, it's an island, but at low tide you can actually walk there. At high tide, you either have to use a boat or you swim. There are 43 such islands around the UK, and today I'm going to be visiting one of them here in Penzance, and it's called St Michael's Mount. It's about 3 miles, 4.7 kilometres along the coast. Now I have to get there by 10:50 this morning, otherwise they cut off the causeway because the tide's coming in. So I need to catch a local bus. Hiya, Marazion please. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm obviously in the right place, that's for sure. Back there in Penzance, that almost didn't go according to plan. Before I do these journeys, I always check online, go into Travel Line, which is a really good website. They get their information from the different transport suppliers and they give it to you in a very understandable, easy to read format. And it gives you a clue as to what to expect. So I got to the bus station there. The first bus didn't actually exist. Where they got that information from, I'm not sure. Second one did, and that was the one I caught. And the third one apparently doesn't go to Marazion. So you got to think on your feet sometimes. But we're here, and we've got around about 30 minutes before the causeway gets covered in water. Yeah, so this little boat that you can catch is £3.20 one way. You don't have to pay it, but the alternative is to swim. This is pretty cool. This is actually pretty cool. It's thought that St Michael's Mount was a monastery somewhere between the 8th and the 11th centuries. Yeah, so your options are, you can either catch the ferry to take you back to the mainland, £3.20 one way, or you can swim. Sounds like a no-brainer to me. Now there is actually a cafe here. I have had a cup of coffee to get me up to cruising altitude, but I think I need something to keep me there. So let's try and find this cafe. Aha! I was wondering if I would find this. This is the island's underground railway, and it was used to transport goods from the harbour to the castle, built around 1900, which replaced the pack horses which were used. Unfortunately, due to health and safety reasons, it's out of bounds to the public. Wow, there's no shortage of shops here. I think that's most of the buildings on the island. Right, now where is that cafe? This appears to be the entrance to the castle. I didn't buy tickets for the castle because, let's face it, when you're from Scotland, you're spoiled for choice when it comes to castles. So I thought, nah, maybe not. And anyway, my priorities lie elsewhere. Food. I haven't had breakfast yet and I need another coffee. Right, Google Maps to the rescue. According to Google Maps, which is never wrong, there's an island cafe up here. That's where I'm heading. Ah, that's more like it. So if I'm not going into the castle, and the gardens are closed for another 2 weeks before the tourist season kicks off, it's just a case of wandering around and enjoying this island. It's beautiful. Sadly, the cemetery isn't open to the public. Not today, anyway. Here's an interesting but totally useless factoid. Most of the island was handed over to the National Trust in 1954, but the family who owned the property actually have a 999-year lease to live on the island. Imagine having all these people wandering around your gardens. Oh. I may have to try one of those Cornish ice creams before I leave. It would be rude and disrespectful not to try one. Here I am assuming that it's a little ferry boat that takes us to the mainland. It could be this bad boy. That is one seriously amphibious vehicle. That actually makes a lot of sense as well. While I was having my bacon roll and coffee, I was looking at the people walking along the causeway, and I was looking to see how high the water would get, and I thought, we're going to have to wait until high tide before a boat can get that little jetty over there. Unless you use one of these things. You don't need a jetty, it just takes you onto the beach and drops you off. We've reached the official cut-off time for the causeway, but there's still people crossing it, which is still safe enough because it looks as if there's still a couple of feet before they start getting their ankles wet. I think it's because they have to err on the side of caution, because if it takes you an hour to walk from there to there, or if you're in a wheelchair or something like that, they have to give you a little bit of extra time. Yeah. That's Penzance over there. Although I caught the bus over, I think I might actually walk back. It's about, what did I say, 3 miles, 4.7 kilometers. I can do that. I've got plenty of time, so I might actually go for a stroll and walk back. But not for a while yet. I haven't finished exploring the island. Of course, there's these great steps here, and I'm going to climb up the steps, but you're not allowed to. I don't want to be seen breaking the law.
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
These steps, on the other hand, don't have a sign, so I think we're okay. Right, let's go up these steps. Oh, jeez, oh. Do not climb the steps. You only read the sign once you're on top of the steps. Right. I think everyone else is doing it, so why not? Of course, it's just a health and safety thing, in case the stones are slippery and you go flying down there, you know. One thing I was hoping you could do here was to walk actually around the shore of the island. That would be actually a very interesting little walk, but no, it's off limits, you can't do it. Oh well. I just had a sneaky look over that door there. There's nothing to see, and from what I can see, it hasn't been used for a while, but I'd love to walk up that tunnel. You know what I'm like when it comes to tunnels. I'd love to do that. I was speaking to one of the National Trust girls back there, and I asked her Is it a little boat here that takes us back to the mainland, or is it the amphibious vehicle? Because I saw on a map that's where they depart from, and that isn't a departure point for an amphibious vehicle. And she says no, it's the little boats. They just do a shuttle service totally during high tide, but if the water is rough, then they'll use plan B, the amphibious vehicle. Today it's going to be one of these little boats here. That should be fun. Well, I'll tell you something, there's something quite, how shall I put this, pungent in the air. Phew, it's stinking here. I'm just watching the causeway now. The water is actually starting to lap across the causeway itself. People are still walking across it. Okay, they're going to get wet ankles, but they seem to be quite happy about that. So walk along there and get cold and soaking wet, or catch a little boat. What do you think? Well, that's the gate officially closed. I guess if you're still trying to walk through, you will be allowed in, but it's to stop people from now leaving. We're now guests of the National Trust, and the only way we can escape this prison is to pay £3.20 to travel on that little boat there. I've already prepaid my ticket because I wanted to make sure I got back to the mainland. I was just watching a group of visitors down there by the gate, totally perplexed that on this tidal island, the tide actually comes in and traps them. They couldn't believe it. I think I find these tidal islands fascinating because something happened when I was about 4 or 5 years old. The family went down to Girvan for a holiday, as you did in the 1960s, and my dad decided to go fishing on the riverbank, and I went to explore down the river a bit. Now he fell asleep. Unknown to him, he was actually on a small island, so when the tide came in, he was actually strapped on this island in the middle of the river, and I could kind of wave to him from the bank. And I've often thought, yeah, you've got to be careful with these tides. Okay, I think he was able to wade his way back, but yeah, I think I learned a lesson when I was 4 years old there. Watch the tide, always watch the tide. Eventually, common sense prevails. Okie dokie, the time has come. Let's get a Cornish ice cream. For research and information purposes, you understand. That girl from the National Trust who I spoke to earlier about the boats was spot on. Every 2 minutes a little boat leaves to take you back to the mainland. This is like being filmed in early April. I wonder what it's like in the middle of summer. It must be nuts. In fact, that one just crossing now backwards just dropped some people off there, and it's going to go over there now to pick new people up and take them back to the shore. Okay, there's only so many things you can do on a small island like this, and only so many Cornish ice creams you can eat, so time to catch one of these boats and head back to the mainland. I was having my ticket, which I bought online, checked by the girl up there, and I was asking, how manic does it get here during the summer? And she said, well, today's pretty busy, 1,500 visitors expected. A typical day in the middle of summer, 5,000. Can you imagine 5,000 people over there? She says, yeah, it's absolutely shoulder to shoulder people, and they have 9 boats and they just run constantly. I also asked her, what's the idea behind the tokens? I noticed a girl there was collecting tokens, and apparently now that the causeway is closed, instead of buying an actual physical or digital ticket, you pay for a token. That allows you to come here, and on the way back, you just hand over the token. That's your ticket to get back. Great system. Right, let's get on one of these little boats here. I did have my heart set on one of these amphibious vehicles, but hey, I'm quite happy with one of these little boats, that's fine. Thanks a lot. Well, that was probably the quickest boat trip of my life. Well, that was a bit of fun. It's a shame it only lasted 30 seconds. Right, I'm going to go into the town, have a quick look around. Then I've got the walk back to Penzance to look forward to. I want you guys to come along with me as well. I was too busy getting that perfect shot for YouTube, and I ended up getting soaked in one foot. Yep, the tide's still coming in. Right, let's have a look at Marazion. Marazion is quite pretty, but it's time to head back to Penzance. What a lovely day. I'm going to be taking this jacket off and I'm going to soak up some rays. And here we are back in Penzance after a nice little walk. When I left my hotel this morning, I left my bag at the hotel, and I also left my water bottle there as well, because I thought I'm only going down the coast a bit, I don't need my water bottle. But having walked back, I'm getting a bit thirsty, so I could do with a little bit of a drink. And I thought, I've heard so many good things about a beer, I might try one. And I know what you're thinking, beer dehydrates you, it doesn't rehydrate you. And I know that, but it sure does taste good. So on that note, thanks very much for coming along. I'm going to try and find a tavern, have a beer, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, it's got to be. Absolutely. Obviously, green fuels.
Yeah, I think so.
How do you get the fuel over there?